Hey, it's Casual Jake, and I am so glad to bring you another EDH deck tech today. With the release of Commander Legends, there is a mechanic that many people are going to be brewing around, and that is the partner mechanic. Now, some love it and some hate it, but regardless of how you feel, it is a way for one to enjoy this game that we all enjoy. So today, I thought I would bring you a deck that combines new and old partner commanders. But before we continue, please take a quick moment to go ahead and like this video and subscribe to the channel. As we continue to grow this thing, every little bit of engagement helps, and you have the power to help bring this content to a wider audience just by doing those simple things. Alright, now that you've given me my digital validation with the click of a button, let's check out this deck. Our mind is a limitless sky, and we can only be an albatross flying in the vast expanse to occasionally discover the joys of sublimity. Eligeth Das beautifully relates one's mind to the seemingly endless and magical space that is the sky. In this deck, we attempt to become the mentioned albatross who will soar the skies of our mind and hopefully bring us victory on the EDH table. For this deck, which I have affectionately named Caw and Draw, Ishai, Ojuitai, Dragonspeaker, and Eligeth, Crossroads, Augur, will be partnering to traverse the skies while we scry and fly our way to victory. If you are wondering why I included such a profound quote at the beginning of a video about cardboard, well, let me explain. In a game of Magic, a player's library is supposed to represent that player's knowledge, or in this case, their mind. These two partners will explore and manipulate this knowledge pool, which I feel perfectly relates to the sentiment that Eligeth Das was trying to convey. If nothing else, I hope that this quote at least inspires you to appreciate the melding of mind, matter, and enjoyment that comes from a game of Magic. Now, moving on to our commanders, Ishai is one of the original partner commanders and is a 1/1 bird monk who costs 2 and 1 white and 1 blue to cast. Ishai has flying and reads, whenever an opponent casts a spell, put a 1/1 counter on Ishai Ojuitai Dragonspeaker. So as our opponents cast spells and reveal their knowledge, this commander will learn from these and grow in strength and fortitude. What an excellent student, and as a teacher I can say that I approve. Then we have Eligeth, who is a 5/6 Sphinx who costs 4 and 2 blue to cast. Eligeth also has flying and reads, if you would scry a number of cards, draw that many cards instead. Eligeth takes the lesser ability of scrying and turns it into straight card draw. That would be as if, instead of opening a book to read its contents, the entirety of the book was just magically transported into your mind. Yeah, it's as cool as it sounds. While these cards do not necessarily synergize together, they both represent beings who thrive on knowledge, and as partners, one will use that knowledge to inflict damage on our opponents, while the other continues to restock our hand and keep us one step ahead of the competition. This deck aims to generate card value and win with alternative win conditions while staving off attacks with large flyers, and that means Sphinxes. Anyways, you get what I'm saying. If these alternative win conditions cannot be met, we are more than happy to take to the skies and finish off our opponents with evasive flyers who pack a punch. While Ishai generates value on their own, many of the cards in this deck synergize with our other commanders specifically, and that'll be very evident in our first category, which is the Scry effects. Inscription of Insight, Interpret the Signs, Tamiyo's Epiphany, and Ugin's Insight all become insane one-shot card draw spells when paired with Eligeth. Your opponent's jaws will literally drop when they see the hand that you are holding after playing one of these spells. Also, our commander essentially makes Preordain into a copy of Ancestral Recall, which is a card that I'm never going to really be able to afford, so you need to just know that I had to include it. Next we have the recurable Scry effects, and many of these are found on creatures. Geist of the Archives is a hefty defender who will give us a scry trigger on our upkeep. Sphinx of Foresight is a generously costed 4/4 flyer who provides a scry on upkeep, but will also allow us to scry 3 on our first upkeep if it's in our opening hand. Prognostic Sphinx can not only protect itself by giving itself hexproof if we pitch a card, but it also scries 3 when it attacks. Siana, Eye of the Storm is a popular partner for Eligeth, but in R99 they provide us with a scry for each attacking creature with flying. This can generate a lot of card value if we are able to fill the board with birds and sphinxes all hungry for knowledge. Then we have a few enchantments which provide us with scry triggers such as Retreat to Coral Helm, which triggers on landfall, Aqueous Form, which makes a creature unblockable and scries on attack, and I also highly recommend playing Marit Log's Slumber. This will provide us with a snow landfall scry, as well as lead up to a huge indestructible flying avatar in the late game. If you don't have the means to fill out the snowlands in your deck, then do what I do and just speak to your playgroup. Before our games I mentioned that I would like all my basics to be treated as snowlands, and they're completely fine with it. Most games it doesn't really matter, but it's worth mentioning before the game if you do go this route. Then we have straight up card advantage / card draw spells to cover. We won't always have Eligeth on the battlefield, so we should be prepared to get more cards into our hand in case they are still in the command zone. Body of Knowledge may not be a flyer, but it is a really cool new addition to this deck that gets rid of our maximum hand size while also drawing cards each time it is dealt damage. Plus, with our card draw skills, there's a good chance this creature is going to get huge. We also play Asperia, Supreme Judge, who will let us draw cards whenever a creature attacks us or a planeswalker that we control. It is worth noting that because of the wording, you will draw a card for each creature that attacks you, and against like token decks, this can really incentivize them to not attack us, or they have to choose to give us the insane card advantage. Kefnet the Mindful is an indestructible bird, god, they're god, whose mana sink can help us draw cards, and if we need lands in our hand to drop for our other triggers, they can return those lands to our hand as well. Unesh Cryosphinx Sovereign is not only the coolest sounding creature to play, but also makes our other sphinxes cost 2 less to cast, as well as gives us a Fact or Fiction ability whenever they or another sphinx enters the battlefield. Lastly in this category, I want to mention Jace Mirror Mage, who has this cool kicker ability, potentially giving us 2 Jaces. Jace's +1 turns into 2 cards drawn if we have our commander, but there is some secret tech that Livy told me about the other day that I just have to share. So if you kick Jace, you can use the original copy to scry to and see if you like what's on top or what's in there, and you can put them on the bottom, and then you can use the second one to draw said card. While the copy dies, it keeps the first Jace alive while fixing your draw. This especially came in handy already when I was desperately needing a removal spell, and this little trick helped me dig just far enough for it. But don't think we completely forgot about Ishai. No, Ishai is going to grow to be the biggest bird on the board, and yes, I am proud of that alliteration, but it also means that we're going to need to protect them. Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots provide some protection, while Brave the Elements gives each of our creatures protection from a color, which can really save us in the face of certain board wipes. I also included Spirit Mantle in this category because it does protect our commander from other creatures, but that also means that it can swing in unblocked and unscathed with all of those counters that our opponents so graciously gifted us. Lastly, I want to discuss some of the win conditions of our decks so that we know how we plan to close out the game. As I mentioned earlier, we can just swing with our evasive flyers, and cards such as Favorable Winds, Imperium Eagle, and Thunderclap Wyvern help buff our team of aviators, while Magus of the Moat makes it so that only creatures with flying can attack. But aside from the go for the face tactic, we run a few other ways to win the game that don't involve combat. The first being Thassa's Oracle and Jace Wielder of Mysteries, which allows us to win the game when we basically draw our deck. A bit overdone win condition, but valid nevertheless. Oromos, Archive's Keeper, makes sure that we do not lose the game if we do not have cards in our library, but instead we get to put 5 counters onto this creature, which if we protect can help us close out the game through damage. Approach of the Second Sun is a classic control win con that, when placed 7th from the top after cast, can be easily drawn with Eligeth and some of our scry spells. That quick turnaround can win us the game the turn after we initially cast it, which sometimes is too fast for our opponents to deal with. Lastly, we have what has to be my favorite win con because of how difficult it can be to achieve. Attempsis All-Seeing is a 4/5 Sphinx who can help us loot with its ability, but it's that large paragraph that we are interested in. It reads, whenever Attempsis All-Seeing deals damage to an opponent, you may reveal your hand. If cards with at least 6 different converted mana cost are revealed this way, that player loses the game. This is such a unique way to take out an opponent, and I just love the idea of swinging in, revealing your hand, and having that player just lose the game automatically. Plus, with Eligeth, combined with our other card advantage spells, combined with the cards that give us no maximum hand size, we have the potential to have a lot of cards in hand when we attack, and that only increases our chance of having the 6 different CMCs. And then again, if all else fails, just send in the Ishai. This deck was a ton of fun to put together, and if you do decide to build it, feel free to lean into any of its many themes as you see fit for your playstyle. I enjoy this deck because it allows me to draw cards and see my deck without necessarily comboing off and getting my whole playgroup upset with me. But what cards would you include in this build? Please feel free to go down to the comments and let me know what you think of the deck and what cards you would add. You can find the entire deck list in the description, and while you're there, take a minute to like the video and subscribe to the channel again. All of this stuff just really helps out the content tremendously, and I can't thank you enough. If you want to keep up with me and see where I'm at, you can go ahead and find me on Instagram and Twitter at casual_Jake_, and you can catch me streams. You can catch my streams on Twitch under the same name. Again, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I can't wait to bring you more gameplay and deck techs. I'm Casual Jake reminding you, don't forget to play your land drops. See you next time.